We are about to hit a huge milestone in this Defender rebuild, or should I say, resurrection. So here I have my brand new galvanised shielded chassis and shielded bulkhead that we got delivered in the last episode, and by the end of this episode, those bad boys will be fully primed and painted. Which means we will be at the halfway point. No more battling with rusty bolts, no more ripping panels off, no more getting 35-year-old dirt, dust, grime and grease all over my body, in and around my orifices. You know, son of a From now on, it will be plain sailing, just fitting brand new, refurbished parts, just like these axles, this seat box, and this fuel tank. And we've got so many shiny new parts, guys. If we look in this box, what have we got? Oh, some shiny red thing there, that looks nice. We've got some old man emu coil springs, you better believe it. And then over here, we've got some proper shiny new heavy duty hardware, like this. But that is enough of what shiny parts we've got in those boxes. You little minkies will have to wait. Right, it's back to the job at hand. Painting this chassis and bulkhead. So because that chassis and bulkhead have both been galvanised, just like these brackets here, you can't paint them directly because the paint doesn't adhere to this shiny galvanised finish. And galvanisation essentially is an outer skin, a protective layer of zinc, which helps to protect the steel underneath and stop it rusting. So it's not the end of the world if you don't paint this, but it looks nicer, and again the paint just helps to protect the galvanised metal. So one way around that is to prep and prime the galvanised metal with some T-wash or mordant solution. What this does is it provides a chemical reaction, essentially a chemical key to the metal. So when you spray it on like this, the chemicals in this mordant solution or T-wash react with the zinc, it brings all the oils to the surface and gets rid of all the grease, and it leaves this dark grey layer of phosphorus on the top that you can basically wash off and give it a scrub to get it all clean. And once you've done that, the metal surface is then chemically keyed and primed and ready for paint. And you can see here, guys, the difference between a bracket that hasn't been T-washed, that galvanisation's all shiny and smooth still, and then one that we've just T-washed there. It's turned the bracket and the metal all dark grey. Not very nice looking, but that is chemically keyed and ready for paint. So the plan was to go around the chassis and the bulkhead with this T-wash and give it a chemical key, and then I was going to get some of this Raptor bedline and paint, and I was going to cover the whole chassis in Raptor, just like we did with the axles and the rear tube outside. But one of my legendary subscribers said, stop! Do not paint the chassis with Raptor, because if anything, Raptor's too hard for the chassis. So if you're driving along and you ding that Raptor paint on the chassis, it will chip off, and then over time, it's just going to flake all over the place and be an absolute nightmare. So instead, I've got something different. So this is Buzzworld's GIO kit. GIO standing for Galvanisation in One Chassis Painting Kit, and you get everything you need in here to paint a freshly galvanised chassis. Let me show you. So this video isn't sponsored by Buzzworld, but I thought it'd be really good to show you guys everything you get in one of these kits, because many of you will probably be painting a brand new shielded chassis or shielded bulkhead, hopefully in the future. And don't forget, guys, in the description box there is a link to shielded chassis, so you can get 5% off your brand new chassis or bulkhead. So in this kit, you get everything you need to paint this new galvanised chassis. So the first thing you've got is this FX degreaser, which I assume is like Buzzwell's version of T-wash, but I'm not quite sure. The instructions just say to thoroughly wash the chassis with that degreaser, kind of spray it on or rub it on, and then wash it off with warm water. And then once all of that degrease is off, you then go around the chassis with one of these nicely supplied, nicely supplied nylon brush set with your drill, and just kind of scuff all the metal to make sure it's all keyed up nice and there's no shiny bits left. And then once all that's prepped, you've then got your Buzzworld chassis paint, primer and top coat in one, and a litre of Buzzworld multi-thinners. Then essentially you mix both of those bad boys down, and then you also get supplied a nice spray gun. And I've had a look at this, guys, and I'm pretty impressed, to be honest. It's not a bad little gun. It comes with a metal paint can top thingy bit, and then a nice gun with both 1.4 and 2mm spray aperture things. So not a bad little gun, to be fair. So this is the high volume, low pressure kit. There is a Shucks kit. I think it's called Shucks. I don't know, but it's the one that I used for the Raptor. You know, that can basically looks like that, and then you put the gun in the top. So you can get that one and spray it all over, but I went for the the high volume, low pressure kit, simply for the reason that you get 5 full litres of paint. And I know 5 litres of paint with some thinners goes a long way, whereas the Shucks one, you only get 4 litres, so 4 cans of this. And again, based on my experience from the Raptor, 4 cans doesn't go very far. And I was worried that when I'm painting this whole chassis, I might run out halfway through and not have enough, and then I'll be screwed. So that is why I went for the high volume, low pressure spray gun kit. Like I said, there is a Shucks available, and you have a hand painting one as well, so whatever your preference, that's the one I've gone for. But all in all, it looks pretty cool, so I'm looking forward to getting that on here. And I also forgot to mention, you get this long reach around brush, which is really handy for kind of reaching around and up and under those tight spaces. So that is all the kit there, guys, all ready to go, and the chassis is there, ready to paint. There's just a couple of things I want to do first on the bulkhead and around the chassis, and then we can get on to doing some painting. Yeah, boy! So in the last video, we test fitted the tub and the door to our new shielded bulkhead. And when we measured the door gaps, we got around about 87.5 centimetres from the back of the tub to the front of the bulkhead. And the door gaps looked pretty nice. But many of you guys said in the comment box that the factory spec or ideal spec door gaps should be around about 88 centimetres to 88.5 centimetres, just to make sure we've got enough clearance for the rubbers that go around the door. So we're probably going to need another 5 to 10 mil space here. And I've got a little idea of how I think we can achieve that by rectifying a small gap down here. Let me show you. So down here, we have the front of the bulkhead there, mated up against the front of the chassis, or this outrigger. And you can see there's just a slight little gap there where that is flush straight and that is on a slight angle where it meets the outrigger. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to break out the grinder, and I'm just going to mark like a pen width line, the right angle there, and I'm going to grind that back ever so slightly on an angle. So when that mates up there, it mates up flush and level with both that and that. And I think that's just going to give me an extra 5 to 10 mil on both sides. And then when we come to test fit the doors, we'll have enough wiggle room to move it either forward or backward ever so slightly to get that perfect door gap either side and get the doors looking nice. And if we do take too much off, it's not the end of the world, because we can just put a little shim in, just like Land Rover do from factory. Right, let's break out the grinder. Now I know what some of you might be thinking, you're ruining your galvanisation on this brand new galvanised bulkhead. But that's okay, because we'd have to do this anyway, so I'd rather do it now and then paint it properly, and then when we do fit it, we've got no issues at all. And if we do have to put a spacer in, that's absolutely fine. Much better. Like it. So that is now fitting perfectly flush up against those outriggers and the bulkhead, so that will give us that extra few mil room that we need to make sure we get the perfect door gaps. Now I will be painting that to an inch of its life, so don't worry about that bare steel, it will not rust, I guarantee you it. Right, the next thing we're going to do is just go around all the parts on this bulkhead that are going to be exposed externally, so this kind of side upright piece and round here where the vents are, because this will all be painted properly with proper nice paint. But what I want to do is just take a really soft disc pad or sanding disc pad to any rough bits of galvanisation, just smooth it back a little bit, not take it through the galvanisation, but just smooth it back a little bit, so when we paint it we can get a nicer finish. So let's do that now. So here I'm just using a well-worn and well-used 120 grit sanding disc to take back those rough edges. And with all those rough edges sanded back, we can then go around the bulkhead with a wire brush and just scrape off any leftover slag from the galvanisation process. Right guys, so that is the shielded bulkhead all clean now and ready for some T-wash and then some paint. But we're going to do a slightly different process on this bad boy, so I'll get to that later in the video. The next step is to go around and give the chassis a good scrub once again with this wire brush, and then we'll get some of that Buzzworld FX degreaser on that bad boy and get it all cleaned and ready for paint. So let's cut to a little montage. So taking the bulkhead off once again, we can then raise the chassis up on the ramp and go around with a wire brush and again clean off any leftover slag or residue on that chassis from the galvanisation process. just making sure to get behind all the nooks and crannies, taking off those new engine mount brackets, and then giving the chassis a scrub behind them. Next we can take off all the rear tub mounting brackets that we installed in the last video and add them to the pile. And yes, this is me multi-tooling off a bolt that I couldn't get undone because I damaged the threads.
Woo! Yeah, boy! Woo!
And with the cross member off, we can then have a quick tidy up before breaking out the FX degreaser. And with that decanted into a little spray bottle, we can then go around spraying the chassis and scrubbing it in. And with the degreaser scrubbed in all over the chassis, the next thing to do is wash it off. Ideally I'd be using a pressure washer, but I'm inside the garage, so instead I've opted for a warm bucket of water and a nice rag. So with one side of the chassis thoroughly degreased, we can then take these nylon wire drill bits that we got supplied with the kit and get to work scuffing up all of that galvanisation to make sure it has a nice key for the paint to stick to. And you can really see the difference this process makes compared to the shiny galvanised piece that's still yet to be done. So with one side of this chassis thoroughly degreased and prepped and scuffed up, we get to work single-handedly wrestling the chassis up on one end.
Woo! Yeah, boy! And that is how you do that. Nice.
And then all that's left to do is repeat exactly the same process. And if you're not subscribed already, now is a great time to hit that subscribe button to support this channel and follow along on this journey.
Oh guys, that was hard work. That has taken over a day to get this chassis all prepped and ready for paint. But let me show you. So here it is guys, all prepped. We've gone around, we've cleaned it and degreased it with that Buzzweld FX degreaser. And then we've taken this whizzy nylon pad thing that you get supplied in the pack. You get all of those things there, but I only actually use this one. We've gone round and we've scuffed up every single inch of this Defender 110 Shielder chassis, and it has taken bloody ages, but everything's nicely scuffed up and keyed there, all ready for that Buzzweld direct to galvanise chassis paint. So my plan was to lie it down flat, paint one side, lift it up and then paint the other side, but now I've got it up on one end. I think I might just paint it like that. It does mean that I'll have to angle the spray gun a little bit to get to the underneath sides, but it's not the end of the world. If we do miss any bits, when it's laid flat, we'll just give it another lick of paint. Right guys, so once again, we are ready for paint, but the garage is not. We need to turn this into a spray booth. So let's do that the easy way. 3, 2, 1, boom! And there we go guys, another pop-up spray booth for the 110 chassis. Nice. So this is pop-up spray booth version 2.0. We've made a few revisions since the last video. We've made it a little bit wider and a little bit longer so we can get all the way around this 110 chassis to give it a good paint all over. And I have to say guys, having a space like this to be able to do stuff like this is fantastic. I built this garage during lockdown with my bare hands, and there's not a day goes by where I take this place for granted. I absolutely love it. And having a space like this to do the things I love and all sorts of these activities is absolutely amazing. And the fact that you guys are also in the garage with me, watching me do all this stuff, is even better. So thank you very much, you legends. But that's enough of that soppy stuff. Let's get some of this Buzzweld paint mixed up and get that bad boy painted.
So as you can see, this Buzzweld chassis paint is like treacle, so we need to water it down with some thinners, around about 10 to 15%. And with that thinners thoroughly mixed in, we can then get to work laying down some paint. And just like that, our new Shielder galvanised chassis is thoroughly protected with 4 coats of paint.
So while that chassis paint is drying, we've brought our attentions back over to the pop-up workshop and we've been working on getting this bulkhead prepped and primed, ready for paint. So as you can see, it's looking a little bit different. It's not as shiny and sexy as it was. We've thoroughly washed it, We've then hit it with that FX degreaser all over. We've then washed it again. Then we hit it with that T-wash and scrubbed that in, and it really takes the shine off that galvanisation. Then we washed it once more before finally scrubbing it down with some Scotch-Brite. And then we brought it in here and gone back one final time with brake cleaner to thoroughly degrease it. And this bad boy is now ready for paint. So we're going to do something a little bit different with the Bulkhead. For this, we're going to use the Raptor 2K epoxy primer. And we're probably also going to hit it in certain places with some of that Raptor bed lining as well, just to make it look a little bit different and nice. So let's get some of that paint mixed up and get this bad boy transformed from what is now an ugly duckling into a masterpiece. So once again, we break out the Raptor 2K epoxy primer and mix this up, and you guys know the drill by now. It's 4 parts paint to 1 part hardener. And with that paint all mixed up, we can then screw on the gun and get to work painting that bulkhead. And with 3 coats of primer laid down, we can then flip the bulkhead round and do 3 coats on the other side. Next, we can go ahead and fully mask that bulkhead all around the edges that we don't want to get covered in that Raptor bed liner. And I found the best way to do this is use a masking tape for the edges and then some polythene sheet to cover the rest. And once again, it's time to mix that Raptor bed liner. Taking the can, piecing the lid, pouring in the hardener, 237ml to be exact, and giving it a shake.
And here we go, guys, we're back where we started at the beginning of the video, but this time we have a brand new painted chassis and a brand new painted bulkhead. You better believe it. Right, let me give you guys a little look around. So here we go, where do we start? Let's have a look at the chassis. So I've gone around and I've put all of the brackets back on that we took off at the beginning of the video, and everything is nicely painted now with that Buzzworld GIO, which is galvanisation in one paint, straight to galvanisation once you've degreased it and got rid of all of the grease and oils and give it a good scuff up. And it's come out really well. I'm really pleased. It's a nice factory OEM looking finish. It did take quite a bit of work to put on, to do those 4 coats, to get all around this 110 chassis, did take quite a bit of work. If I'm honest, I think in hindsight, I probably would have used that Shucks gun and maybe just bought an extra couple of cans because it would have had it done a lot quicker in a few passes, but we live and learn. Anyway, let me show you the bulkhead, which has equally come out just as nicely. So for this, we did a slightly different process. We scuffed it down, cleaned it, T-washed it, and then we've hit it with that Raptor 2K epoxy primer. This is still primer, it does need painting properly, but it does look pretty nice in that primer grey. And then down here, on the front of the bulkhead, we've just coated it in that Raptor bed liner coat, because this is where all of the engine components and gubbins are going to go, and it does finish it off really nicely and just adds a nice hard-wearing protective layer. So I'm pretty pleased with that, guys. It looks pretty nice, if I do say so myself. And then if we come round to the inside, once again, I decided on the back of a few of your comments to go ahead and wrap the bed line, the footwells as well. All of this, again, is a protective coating. And if we change our mind in the future, a bit like the seat box, we can always cover this in matting, and equally the footwells we can cover in matting and carpet as well. So it isn't permanent. Well, it is, but it doesn't aesthetically have to be permanent, if you know what I mean. Anyway, all in all, guys, I'm really pleased with that. It's come out really nicely. So the next big job will be to paint this properly, and we can just mask off the Raptor bits on both sides and then hit that with the colour of choice. Still yet to be determined, so let me know in the comment box down below what colour you think we should paint this bad boy. And don't forget, guys, if you need a brand new chassis or a brand new bulkhead as sexy as mine for your Land Rover Defender project, then check out Shielder. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. And if you use the code DadsGarage5, those legends at Shielder have given you 5% off any brand new chassis or brand new bulkhead. So you too can have a sexy looking backbone for your project, just like mine. Nice.
So we are officially at the midpoint milestone now, guys. The rebuild starts from here, and we're now ready to think about installing these brand new refurbished axles onto this brand new freshly painted chassis with some brand new suspension. And I've got all the gear to mount those axles to this new chassis, all in these boxes here. They are full of sexy goodies, and you guys do not want to miss out seeing what's in those boxes and seeing how it's all going to look once those axles are connected to this chassis with that gear. So if you are not subscribed already and not one of the legends following this journey, then hit that subscribe button down below and get on board, because this is going to be one epic build. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.